day, viewers. Welcome back to the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio, that is I, where no God is required for a life of love, joy, peace, fulfillment, meaning, and purpose in life. And the good life is one guided by reason and motivated by love. Oh, great episode today. I'm going to change my tune today. We are going to talk about a very important topic, something that's been on my mind for many years, something that I have done for many years since I let go of Christianity and preaching years ago. We're going to talk about atheist evangelism today. Part one, what is atheist evangelism? Part two will be the arguments against it. And then we'll get into part 3 and 4 in the near future, why we should do it. That's the good stuff. And part 4, how to do it. So I know this is a very controversial topic among we freethinkers, and I want you to please give me a chance to explain myself in these 4 episodes. Number one, what gives me the credibility and what type of qualifications do I have to talk about atheist evangelism? Well, number one, I was born into a fundamentalist Christian culture. I had the cultural glasses of Christianity slapped upon me at birth, right? There was that indoctrination that a lot of us have had happen to us when we've been born into that environment. So yes, I was born into a very, very strict Christian environment. My father was a pastor. I started preaching at age 19. I saw the light of Jesus, right? I wanted to go out and begin to minister. So I have experience as a young preacher many years ago of Christianity. I started my evangelism and preaching at age 19. I started preaching in nursing homes. After church, Sunday morning, my father's church, I would take the youth group with me, and we would go to various nursing homes in the Waco area. And I would play piano, singers would go with me, and then I would preach. I would preach at various youth groups in different churches around the city of Waco. I started traveling. My father set up meetings for me with his preacher friends around the country. I would go speak for the church at their churches, and I would begin to teach on evangelism as well, talking to Christians about going out door to door and winning souls for Jesus. I did lots of traveling, lots of preaching to sinners, and also educating believers on how to win souls for Jesus Christ. At age about 20, 21 or so, I went on staff at my father's church. I was a full-time staff minister. My job qualification was minister of evangelism, minister of youth, and minister of music. I was a busy young preacher. So the ministry of evangelism, I wrote a 13-week course, and this is back in the late 70s and early 80s, or actually the mid-70s. And I wrote a 13-week course on personal evangelism, how to go out and talk to people, how to go door to door. I would educate Christians in classes, and we would go out and practice this. We would go into different neighborhoods and do proselytizing and personal evangelism. I remember when I was married to my first wife back in the 70s and 80s as a young preacher, we would have family picnics with her side of the family. I remember one instance at Lake Waco. We had a large family picnic, her side of the family. And I remember them asking my wife at the time, where'd David go? What happened to David? He just disappeared. Well, she would make excuses and tell them, well, he's just being David. What I would do, I would just wander off alone with my gospel tracts and my little King James Gideon's Bible, and I would go around Lake Waco on the shoreline and talk to people about Jesus. This is how I'm wired. I'm actually the same person I was as a young preacher 25, 30, 35 years ago when I preached the gospel of Jesus, which I thought was a truism back then. I remember one time visiting my father and my mother when they lived in Phoenix. My dad was still in the ministry. He's now 85 years old and retired, of course. And I visited his church in Phoenix. He introduced me at his church, and I got to give a little short message. But as he introduced me, he said, well, let me tell you about my son. We were out playing golf, my buddies and I, and David was sitting there watching us play golf. And I noticed my son David just disappeared. And all of his friends were asking him, what happened to your son? He just disappeared. Well, of course, he had to explain to his friends that I was out there going about my Father's business, right? Preaching the gospel, going door to door. So you're looking at someone who's the same person with the same passions of helping people and talking, and yes, proselytizing and evangelizing, and we're going to get to that in a moment, as I was, same person as I was many years ago, just a complete different message now. I'm the same person. I'm wired this way. So let's go over a few words, shall we? These are words that I have noticed that turn many, many atheists off. I have many atheist friends, and many have told me, oh, David, you're wasting your time. You shouldn't be trying to go out there and be an evangelist for free thinking. Well, the word evangelism comes from a Greek word, and the meaning is actually doing or bringing a good message. Earnestly advocating a belief or a cause of action. The question remains, is the word evangelism exclusively Christian? The answer is no. Again, Christianity and church and religion have plagiarized and hijacked and borrowed something perfectly normal and good and made it exclusively theirs. So the word evangelism can be used other than just for church or religious purposes. So evangelism is fair game. I can use the word. What about proselytize? I know many atheists said, oh, don't proselytize. You're being just like a Christian. Well, what does the word mean? It comes from a Greek word, to go near. It means the process of changing or seeking change in others. There is nothing wrong with trying to change someone else's thinking. We all have rights to do that. It's called free speech. Proselytizing and evangelism is not distinctly or exclusively religious. We as fellow atheists, we as freethinkers must understand this concept. Now, I'm going to use a quote throughout the 4 parts of this episode, of this series, and I'm going to say it a lot. Visibility and awareness are the keys to acceptance. Remember that. We want to be visible and we want people to be aware that we are out there if we want equality. I'm getting ahead of myself as usual. So let's go on. Not everything churches do are wrong. Ooh, I know that's a bad phrase to say to some fellow atheists. I discuss this with many of my atheist friends. Some people do not agree with me. Well, there are some things that churches do well. There are some things they've mastered over the last 2,000 to 3,000 years that we do as well. And the reason we all do it is basically it's human. And again, the community, caring, sharing, friendships, relationships, taking care of each other. These are intrinsic and innate as human beings. We have it in us as a social species. Something else Christianity and church has plagiarized and hijacked from humanity. So, not everything that churches do are wrong. We try to do the same thing. Is there a community for atheists? Is there friendship? Is there kindness? Is there love? Is there caring and sharing within the atheist community? Well, we'll discuss that in the future. Let's talk about my experiences with my fellow activists as we go out Sunday mornings. We go out to certain churches every Sunday morning after we feed some homeless people. Christians do it and atheists do it. So we go to particular churches as evangelists and yes, as sowers of seeds of doubt. We're doing the work, right? Getting people to think. Now, the first thing I notice when I go into these large megachurches, they are like a well-oiled machine. They have classes I used to do this myself in churches. They have trained, the church leaders, have trained particular individuals to greet people and newcomers, outsiders. Let's talk some anthropology, right? The others, to be accepted as part of the group. They want it to be appealing. They're good at it. When we go into these mega churches, like I'll be doing tomorrow morning, they have greeters and they are friendly. They are nice. They shake your hand. They put their arm around you. They welcome you to their environment. Now, I, being a former preacher and a pastor's son, I was raised in that culture. I know what they're doing. I understand what they're doing. And it works for a lot of people. Many people are caught into that. That's why they go to churches, because they're loved, they're accepted. There's a community of human beings. So not everything that churches do are wrong. This is something they're very, very good at. People feel loved there, and they feel accepted. There's safety and security in numbers. As a social species, we feel safe in a community. They, Christians, in these churches, these highly trained people that are greeters and making it welcome for outsiders, they persuade and sell their invisible, they sell their invisible product to outsiders, and they make it very appealing. We should be doing that. We should be friendly. We should make this progressive philosophy of life called secular humanism very inviting to outsiders. Now, I'll make this statement here and I'll back it, and why I believe it's so true. We all preach something. We all proclaim what we believe. Most businesses promote products. They promote their products. They have a sales and marketing team. I have a particular client, who is the guru of marketing and sales. He does seminars all over the country. And he talks about marketing to me and sales. Now, there's always a group in each business that are wired to go out and promote the product, right? Every group has this type of people. Let's talk about Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins sells his product. He sells and preaches and tries to recruit people to his way of belief. Dr. Oz is another one. He's always promoting and preaching, whether it's true or false. Propositions are either true or false. They're not relative, right? Fact is not relative either. It's either true or false. Nutritional products. What about people who push nutritional products? There's always preaching and proselytizing, and etc. Politicians do it as well. It's perfectly legal to sell and to convince others of your product. I think we all know the First Amendment in the Constitution, which is called freedom of speech. So, am I wrong in my atheist evangelism? Well, I would say no. First of all, I am not copying Christianity. I'm not copying what they do. People do this. Businesses do it. People do it. Whatever they believe, they preach and promote their product. And I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways because I'm a preacher. I can't help it. I used to tell people when I trained them in personal evangelism, you have a message. We have the light. We have the truth. Let's not hide this under a bushel. Matthew chapter 5 used to say, or does say, let your light so shine that others may see your good works, right? Don't hide the light under a bushel. Well, I can say we as atheists have the light of reason. We have been enlightened. Now, do we want to hold this truth, this reality, from others? Do we want to hide it under a bushel, or do you want to share it with the majority of our friends, our neighbors, and all people you run into? Not all, but the majority, who still hold on to superstitions. Now, I will discuss why to do it and when. We'll get into detail in this. In closing, I will repeat myself again. Visibility and awareness are the keys to acceptance. My fellow atheists, many of you are watching this, and I know some of you are probably rolling your eyes at me, but you may be surprised. You may agree with me more than you may already think. Once you hear the message coming up soon on why we need to go out there and talk to people, you'll find out that there's a lot you do agree with. It's more than just changing people's minds. There are a lot more things that we should be doing and advocating as secular humanists and atheists to others. Well, thank you for watching The Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. Have a wonderful day. And remember, stay tuned for the next few episodes. Have a wonderful day.